Hey everybody, I'm Alex Gentry. Welcome back to my channel. Glad you're here. This is my second video that I'm making in a series of videos that talk about the objections that Christian pastors in the church have toward cannabis. And one of the objections, and the one I'm going to be talking about today, is the idea of being sober. Okay. And they'll take a passage, I think it's Timothy, where it says that you need to be sober minded. And they always pop this one up and they go, look, see, it says you need to be sober minded. And so you shouldn't use substances. And they use the word sobriety in the modern sense of the word that you get from rehabilitation circles. Okay? Don't do drugs and be, clean and no alcohol and no cannabis and all this sort of thing. And that's what they mean by sobriety. But that's not what the Bible's talking about when it's talking about sobriety. That's not what the New Testament is talking about when it's talking about sobriety. And I'll show you, like from Genesis, and I'll carry through to the New Testament, and I'll show you what it's talking about. So you can't take the biblical concept of sobriety, and that's just a word that's used, that's an English word that's used as a translation from Greek words or from Hebrew words. You can't just take that and go, look, see, this is means, this is rehabilitation, this is staying clean, this is no more drugs, no more alcohol. And that's a modern use of the word sobriety. But in the Bible, it's different. So if we look at Genesis, and I'm going to show you right from the beginning. So the word sobriety, literally, I think there's two words. And what they mean is essentially to master your mind, master your thoughts, your emotions, your behavior, and to be in control of those things. Self-control, okay? Mastering your mind, your inner self, your inner struggle, your thoughts, your emotions, your desires, your behavior, and to be in control of those things so that you're not just running around as an out of control person. And there's a lot of out of control people in society. They're all over the place. And every time you see a crime, it's a result of somebody who's not in control of their thoughts, not in control of their emotions, not in control of their behavior. They're just letting whatever run rampant and they just go with it, which is what happened in the beginning, which is what happened with Adam and Eve. And they're being tempted with the fruit, with the serpent, to eat the particular fruit. Okay, here, take this fruit, eat it. You're going to be fine. You won't die. Don't worry about it. Everything will be cool. And Eve looks at it, and it says she perceived that it was good for food and something to make one wise. So this was her thinking. This was her desires. And then her behavior was taking it and eating it. Okay? So she didn't control her thoughts. She didn't control her desires. And she didn't control her behavior. And she gave it to Adam. Okay? More behavior. She gave it to Adam. Adam took it, his behavior, and he ate it. His behavior. He didn't even think about it. He just took it and ate it. He just went along with it. He was just there for the ride. Okay? So they didn't control their thoughts, they didn't control their desires, they didn't control their behavior. And then they get kicked out of the garden, and then they have kids, and they have Cain and Abel. And so Cain and Abel bring sacrifices. They're going to bring sacrifices to the Lord. Abel's a shepherd, and he brings the choice animals of his flock, and he brings those for a sacrifice. Cain is a gardener, and he brings the worst of his crop, and he brings that. So he brings the dregs of his crop to offer as a sacrifice. Abel brought the best of his sheep. So the best of one and the other brought the worst. And so Abel's sacrifice was accepted and Cain's was rejected. And then Cain is bummed out because his sacrifice was rejected, and God told him, well, if you do well, you'd be accepted too. So what does Cain do? He gets mad. He doesn't control his emotions. He gets angry. And then his thoughts, he's going to kill his brother. That's what he decides to do. Okay? He doesn't control his thoughts. He doesn't control his emotions. And he doesn't control his behavior, because then he goes over and he kills his brother. So then he gets booted out and he goes off and lives with the others. Now, in Proverbs, there's a verse that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Okay? As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. All right? So you become what you think about. So the thoughts that consume your thinking most of the time, that which you're preoccupied with, okay? You become what you're preoccupied with in your mind. As you think, so are you. You become that. And so what you have to do, and what the New Testament calls being sober-minded, is that you have to control the way you think, which is what Adam and Eve did not do, which is what Cain did not do. Cain didn't control the way he thought. He didn't control his actions. He didn't control his emotions. Neither did Adam and Eve. But the message is clear in that you have to control these things, because you will become what you think about, what you're preoccupied with. So if you determine that you want to make yourself a better person, and you want to be the best of who you can be, you want to be the best version of yourself, then you have to be able to control your thinking. You have to be able to control your behavior. You have to be able to control your emotions. Okay? Self discipline, self control. And that's what it's talking about when you get to the New Testament. And Paul is talking about being sober minded. He's talking about being in control of your thoughts, being in control of your behavior, being in control of your emotions, self control. Okay, self control, one of the fruits of the Spirit. What are the fruits of the Spirit? Love, joy, peace, patience, gentleness, kindness, meekness, self control, faith, self control. It's there. And that's how you do it. That's how it happens, is by controlling your mind, by controlling how you think, by controlling your behavior, by controlling your emotions, and not letting these things carry you away with every gust of wind. Okay? You have to stay focused. You have to keep your mind on the specifics of what you want to be, what you want to become. Okay? So you can't take the idea of sobriety in the New Testament and distill it down to don't smoke pot or don't drink alcohol, because that's not the message that's being taught. The message that's being taught is that you, as a human being, no matter what circumstances you're facing in life, no matter what you're going through, no matter what issues arise, no matter what happens, you have to remain in control of your thoughts. You have to remain in control of your emotions. You have to remain control of your behavior, your actions. Okay? You can't allow yourself just to fly off the handle. All right? People cause so many problems for others and for themselves when they don't practice self-control. Paul says as a person, you should not be mastered by anything outside of you or inside of you that controls you. You have to be in control of what's happening, okay? You have to maintain control over yourself as a human being. There will be some people go, well, I just let the Spirit of God carry me along. No, that's not what it says. That's not a proper way of thinking about it. That's improper. Okay? You are a creature created by God with a mind and with the ability to control your mind and the ability to make yourself something great, or to diminish yourself and just allow yourself to run rampant and end up in all sorts of trouble. Okay? If you look at the parable of the prodigal son, for example, he's in the pig pen and he's feeding slop to the pigs, and then it says that he came to his senses. He came to himself. He realized, in other words, he had a moment of realization, and he said, why am I here in this, doing this kind of a job? The servants in my father's house, they live a better life than I do. If I get up out of here and I go home and make amends, my father can make me a servant, and then I can live a good life just being a servant in my father's house. So he gets up and he goes. So he has the idea, comes to a self-realization, he acts on it, and he moves in that direction. And when he gets there, he's welcomed back and everything's great. Okay? But the point is that he realized that it was a thought in his mind, and then he used that thought and he controlled himself. He got up and he went home to make amends because he wanted something better than what he had. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the New Testament when we're talking about sobriety. It's not the modern sense of the word. Don't use alcohol. You can't. You have to be sober. Don't use marijuana. You won't be sober if you do that. It's nonsense. And you don't want to be mastered by anything. You don't want to be mastered by alcohol. You don't want to be mastered by weed. You don't want to be mastered by anything. You don't want to be mastered by women. You don't want to be mastered by a job. You don't want to be mastered by any circumstances that pop up. Okay? You have to maintain yourself. You have to control yourself, especially men. Women are emotional creatures. They don't think like men do. They don't behave like men do. Okay? Don't look at them and expect them to either. As a man, especially, women too, but as a man especially, you have to be in control of yourself. You have to be in control of your emotions. You have to be in control of your thinking. You have to be in control of your behavior. Because if a man lets himself get controlled by his emotions, he's going to end up in all sorts of trouble. All sorts of trouble. Things are going to go bad for you. It's not something to dink around with. Okay? You men, especially, because I see so many men who don't control their behavior, they don't control their emotions, they fly off the handle, they blame everyone else for the fact that they're not successful, they refuse to take personal responsibility for their actions and for their behavior, for their emotions, and they're so busy to blame everyone else except the one person who has the power to do something about it, and that's themselves. Women have to be in control of their emotions too. Women are emotional creatures. You got to think about women differently than men. A man you see as a mountain, as a rock, okay? Solid, steadfast. A woman is like the wind. Femininity is like the wind or the ocean. It can be serene or it can come crashing against the rock. The wind can blow nice and gentle, or it can come in as a storm or a hurricane. All right? But a man, no matter what is going on around you, you have to be that mountain. You have to be that rock. Okay? No matter how hard the wind blows against you, no matter how much rain or water beats up against you, you have to remain solid. Okay? Because it's the only way you're going to be successful. Otherwise, you're going to end up in ruin. What's the passage? The man that built his house upon the sand until the wind and the rain, until the wind and the ocean beat against it, and soon enough it collapsed. All right, but the man who built on a solid foundation, when the wind came and the storm came, he stayed steady. Okay, this is teaching you. This is ancient knowledge. This is not something that was just invented yesterday. We have known about this for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. People have figured out this psychology long before Freud ever walked the earth, or any other psychologist, or any other behavioralist, okay? When I worked as a chaplain in a hospital, my main focus was in behavioral health, and I spent a lot of time in behavioral health ministering to patients. All right, and I taught classes. I taught classes in positive thinking. All right, I was teaching positive thinking a la Norman Vincent Peale, and they were teaching um, um, cognitive um, what was it? Cognitive behavioral therapy. So, how to be aware of your behavior and your triggers and all these sorts of things. So, it was a great match. It fit right together because that CBT and the other things, the core, even in positive psychology, the core of that comes from ancient knowledge. It comes from the New Testament, it comes from the Old Testament, it comes from the Stoics. Okay? You have to be centered. It's even in martial arts. In the martial arts, they teach you, if you're going to get into a fight, that you can't just let your mind go crazy. You can't just let your emotions run wild. You have to stay centered. And that's the only way to be able to defeat your enemy, is to be centered, okay? In control of yourself. And that's the message that you get in the New Testament when it talks about sobriety. You master yourself. You master your internal world. You master your thinking. You master your behavior. You master your emotions. And you don't let those things master you. So you can't lay that on a trip and say, that means don't smoke weed. That means don't smoke alcohol. No, doesn't mean that at all. You don't want to be mastered by alcohol. You don't want to be mastered by weed. You don't want to be mastered by women. You don't want to be mastered by, if you're a woman, men. You don't want to be mastered by, you don't want to be mastered, in other words, controlled by anything exterior to yourself. You, as that person, you need to be in control of your personhood. So stay focused. Stay focused. Don't let anything or anyone else bring you under a yoke of bondage. Okay? And we're not talking about whether or not you follow the rules of society. Of course, you need to follow the rules of society. Okay? This is not about that. This is about you as a person. This is about your behavior. It's your self governance. Okay? How you govern yourself. What's the passage? It says um, something like, set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are below. Like love, joy, peace, etc. Because against such things there is no law. So the idea is, whoa, the idea is that you're staying centered, you're staying focused, you're staying in control of yourself. And when you control yourself, no one else is going to look at you and go, "Oh, I need to control that person." Okay, like a wild dog. You ever watch dogs? And if dogs are in a pack or there's more than one dog, and one of the dogs is acting out of turn, is acting out of pocket, and is doing things it shouldn't be doing, the leader of that pack, the alpha of that pack, the other dog will come over and correct that dog. And it'll put that dog down until that dog submits. Okay? Now, society needs to be putting down out of control people, that's for sure. Because out of control people need to submit. They need to submit because what they're doing is damaging everyone else around them, damaging everyone else's life, and damaging their own life. It leads to nothing but ruin. Now, you have the possibility within you. You have the possibility, if you focus your thoughts on doing things that you love, good things, wholesome things, things that can make you successful, things that can make you prosperous, things that make you a better person. Going to the gym, learning an instrument, learning another language, controlling your emotions, controlling your behavior, building your skills, right? Making yourself a better person. This is what you need to be about. This is the business that you need to be in. You need to be focused. And if you control your thoughts and you control your thinking, you can make yourself better. Even if you're in a bad way right now, even if you're fat, even if you're broke, even if you're ignorant, you can read books, you can go to the gym, you can start working on yourself to make yourself better. All right? Better hygiene, Make sure you brush your teeth 3 times a day, and that you're flossing, and that you're showering, you're washing your ass. Make sure you brush your teeth and you're brushing your tongue and your cheeks as well, and the roof of your mouth. All right? Make sure you're clean, you got your toenails and your fingernails trimmed. All these things you should have learned in gym class, etc., when you were young, but you should have been taught this at home. But some people just, they don't. All right? There's a lot of ways that people are out of control. You control yourself, and that's what you need to be doing. Self control. Okay? Now you submit to God by, you say, ask God, lead me and help me and do all these things. And of course, He will, and give you the strength. And so that means that you have to exercise strength. It's not just something that just happens like, oh, boom, all of a sudden I've got it all figured out. No, you have to struggle. You have to grow. Struggle makes you stronger. So it's not easy to control your thoughts. You have to focus on it, because you'll find out that you're thinking about one thing 1 minute, and before you know it, you're off somewhere else, and your thoughts are just meandering. Okay, and I mean the mind is like a radio, like a tuner. It's just out there and it tunes in, and whatever thoughts come around, and sudden all of a thought, you've thought about this kind of thing before, so here comes those thoughts again. And you've thought about this kind of stuff before, so it says, here, would you like to have some of this? And you have to go, no, I don't want that. And I recognize that I don't want it, and I'm glad that I don't want it, because I recognize that for what it is. It's immoral, or it's perverse, or it's degenerate, or it will not lead to a positive result. It won't get me where I want to go. It's not going to build me up. It's just going to tear me down. So you want to make sure that you're constantly building yourself up and building up the others around you. And when you help others, you help yourself. That's just a law of nature. There are laws of nature that are built into this universe, and you have to operate within them. And one of those laws of nature is you can change who you are simply by the way you think. And that's what you need to do. And that's what sobriety is in the Bible. That's what sobriety is in the New Testament. So, whatever you do, whatever your circumstances, whether you smoke weed or whether you don't, you keep your mind and your thoughts under control. You keep your behavior and your emotions under control. Now, you can get books and you can read books about it. Go practice martial arts. I suggest it. I think it would be great for you. It'll help you to learn self-discipline. Now find somebody who's good, not just Joe Schmo at some McDojo. Look up their background. Okay? Do some investigation. Find the best person. Okay? Look at their lineage. Who taught them? Where did they learn? Now, you get into martial arts and you're physically you're taming yourself. All right? Because you have to be able, if you ever got punched in the face, you know that you could lose your self control very rapidly if you don't know how to maintain it. Okay. Had to get up because I got my doorbell ringing and FedEx showing up. So remember, stay focused. Go read some books. Get the get some here. I'll give you a book. Buy The Power of Positive Thinking. Okay? Buy it and read it. It's like a place to start. All right? Buy that book. Read that book. Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. That'll take you through step one. All right? It'll give you a lot of examples and show you how you can change your life for the better. Even if your life is good, you can make it even better, because no matter where you're at on the scale, if we get down here all the way up to there, right, somewhere on the scale, there's things that you can do to make yourself better. Okay, there's things that you can do. Self-improvement never ends. Never. Okay, all the way up to the point of death. All right, the idea is you're trying to reach perfection, but you're never in this life going to reach perfection. You can only reach perfection once you die and you go on to perfection. But in this life, your struggle is towards that ultimate outcome, toward perfection. And so control your mind and harness your thoughts so that you can propel yourself in a positive way for positive spiritual development, positive personal development, to make yourself a better person, a better version of yourself. All right. Thank you for watching my videos. I appreciate it. Guys, I'd love it if you give me a thumbs up. I'd love it if you would subscribe and share this with someone you think could use it as well as yourself. This is not something that, oh, well, someone's a loser, so, everybody can benefit from this, okay? Everybody, no matter where you're at, at the bottom of the scale or whether you're at somewhere toward the top. Everybody can benefit. The struggle never ends. Okay? So make yourself better. Enjoy your life. Thanks for watching. Peace.